After helping An Dương Vương build the fortress of Loatan, the golden turtle god gave him one of its claws to create a crossbow trigger that would protect the kingdom. According to the god's instructions, any crossbow fitted with this golden claw would never miss a shot. One arrow could strike hundreds, even thousands of enemies in one shot. An Dương Vương chose a highly skilled craftsman named Chau from his court and entrusted him with making the magic crossbow. Chau worked tirelessly for many days before completing it. The crossbow was enormous and incredibly sturdy. Unlike ordinary ones, it could only be drawn by a warrior with great strength. The king treasured it immensely and always kept it close to his sleeping quarters. At that time, Triệu Đà ruled the southern land of Nam Hai. He attempted to invade Olak multiple times, but thanks to the magic crossbow, An Dương Vương army inflicted heavy losses on Nam Hai's troops. Seeing that military force was ineffective, Triệu Đà sought peace and sent his son, Trong Thuy, to propose marriage to An Dương Vương daughter, Mỵ Châu. However, his true intention was to discover the secret of the magic crossbow. During his visits to solidify the peace treaty, Trong Thuy met Mỵ Châu, a young woman with elegant eyebrows, phoenix-like eyes, and unparalleled beauty. He fell deeply in love with her, and over time she grew fond of him as well. They became close, and there was no place within Loatan that Mỵ Châu did not take Trong Thuy to see. An Dương Vương suspected nothing. Seeing how much the couple loved each other, the king agreed to let Trong Thuy marry to his daughter, Mỵ Châu. One night, under a bright starry sky, Mỵ Châu and Trong Thuy sat on a white stone in the palace garden, gazing at the towering fortress walls. The cold wind blew as clouds drifted across the endless sky, and the night grew late. As they conversed in whispers, Trong Thuy asked his wife, "My love, what secret does Olak have that makes it so undefeatable?" Mỵ Châu replied, "There is no secret, my dear. Olak has high walls, deep moats, and most importantly, the magic crossbow. Just one shot can kill thousands of enemies. How could anyone defeat us?" Trong Thuy feigned surprise, pretending that he had never heard of the magic crossbow before. He expressed a desire to see it. Without hesitation, Mỵ Châu ran to her father's chamber, took the crossbow, and brought it to her husband. She even pointed out that its trigger was made from the claw of the golden turtle god and explained how to use it. Trong Thuy listened intently, carefully examining the trigger and the structure of the crossbow before handing it back to her. The next day, Trong Thuy requested permission from the king to visit his father. Upon returning to Nam Hai, he reported everything about the magic crossbow to Triệu Đà. The cunning ruler then ordered a skilled craftsman to forge an identical fake trigger. Once it was completed, Trong Thuy concealed it in his clothing and returned to Olak. An Dương Vương loved his daughter dearly and was pleased to see her so joyful whenever she reunited with her husband. To celebrate, he ordered a grand feast for the three of them. Trong Thuy drank only a little, while the king and Mỵ Châu became completely intoxicated. Seizing the opportunity, Trong Thuy snuck into the chamber, removed the real golden trigger, and replaced it with the fake one. The following morning, noticing her husband looking restless and anxious, Mỵ Châu asked, "You seem troubled, my love. What is worrying you?" Trong Thuy sighed. "I must leave immediately. My father has ordered me to return at once, as I must soon depart for the distant northern lands." Mỵ Châu fell silent, saddened by the thought of their separation. Trong Thuy continued, "We are about to part, and I don't know when we will meet again. If war breaks out and you must flee, how will I ever find you?" Mỵ Châu replied, "I have a cloak made of goose feathers. Wherever I go, I will scatter feathers along the way. Just follow the trail, and you will find me." As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes, and she began to sob. Upon his return to Nam Hai, Trong Thuy handed the golden claw to his father. Overjoyed, Triệu Đà exclaimed, "This time, Olak will surely be mine." Soon after, he launched a massive invasion of Olak. Upon hearing the news, An Dương Vương, confident in his magic crossbow, made no preparations for defense. But when the enemy reached the foot of the fortress, the king finally ordered his men to fire the crossbow, only to realize that it no longer worked. Nam Hai's troops breached the gates and flooded into the fortress. And Dương Vương quickly mounted his horse, with Mỵ Châu clinging to his back, and fled through the rear exit. As they rode, Mỵ Châu plucked feathers from her cloak, scattering them along the path. For days and nights they galloped over rugged mountains and treacherous terrain until they reached Da Sun, near the coast. Exhausted, they dismounted to rest, but the enemy was close behind. With the mountains steep and the sun setting, there was no way forward. And Dương Vương turned to the sea and prayed to the golden turtle god for guidance. As soon as he finished his plea, a whirlwind arose, kicking up sand and shaking the earth. The golden turtle appeared and declared, "The enemy is right behind you." The king suddenly realized the betrayal. Filled with sorrow and rage, he drew his sword and struck Mỵ Châu down. Then, overcome with despair, he leaped into the sea. Triệu Đà's army seized Loa Thun, securing victory. Meanwhile, Trong Thuy rode alone, following the trail of feathers in search of Mỵ Châu. When he finally reached the shore, he found her lifeless body lying on the grass. Though she was dead, her beauty remained unchanged. Overcome with grief, he wept bitterly and carried her remains back to Loa Thun for burial. Then, unable to bear his sorrow, he threw himself into the palace well and drowned. Even today, in the village of Cổ Loa, there remains a well known as Trong Thuy's well in front of Dương Vương temple. Legend has it that after Mỵ Châu was slain, her blood flowed into the sea, where oysters consumed it and transformed into exquisite pearls. When those pearls were washed in the water from the well in Cổ Loa, they became even more brilliantly lustrous. The end.